Well, hello there. Long time no talk. Yeah, it's been a minute, hasn't it? So yeah, just a few quick updates, and yes, I know every time I say that, it winds up being like an hour and 45-minute episode. But no, this is just some quick updates. I realize it has been a minute since I've posted. I actually didn't realize how long it's been until like the other day. But I did just want to just give a few quick updates in case, anybody out there was wondering what has been going on um, in regards to like the whole cyber stalking and hacking situation and where we are with like the investigation of that and everything. So, yeah, there have been some good things that have happened since the last episode. There have also been some horrible things that have happened. Initially, if you can recall, the last episode I did, I was saying that I couldn't really comment too much more on specifics about what had happened and what was currently occurring because, investigations underway, legal, reasons, yada yada yada, blah blah blah, like that, right? But at that time, thankfully, a lot of the stuff had quieted down. Like a lot of the phishing attempts and you know what I mean? No hearing like crazy things being said about you from people in the community or people who want to leave or whatever. It was, pretty cool, pathetic. For a minute, I had to like kind of dial back from social media because obviously, if I'm having issues with online hacking and things of that nature and phishing or what have you, or any kind of cyber stalking, then naturally, just the common sense thing to do would be to kind of dial down your social media and internet use. Um, so yeah, I couldn't just use specifics because um, there is an investigation going on. I have contacted a private investigator, and he is working with the legal team. And they always have you err on the side of caution. They would rather have you like not share too much information than share enough. Than share too much. I mean, sorry, like my mind kind of like trailed off, drifted off. Another person who kind of is looking into possibly pursuing legal action, who was a victim of alleged victim of some of these, cyber crimes. Legal advice. At first, she thought that it would be good for me to not make any more episodes for my podcast, my, little blog, my YouTube channel. And then she decided to like just ask her legal representation. Her legal representation told her that actually going back and deleting anything that you shared about what has happened almost would be like kind of almost like an admission of guilt. And for the longest time, some people that I've spoke with who were in that community just been such victims of gaslighting and made to feel like they should feel guilty for some reason just because they decided, hey, I don't feel like dealing with this BS anymore. Um, Wanted to leave or whatever. They still kind of have that mindset and mentality. I mean, it's it's just gonna happen. It's gonna take a minute to kind of grow out of. So I'm not gonna speak too much on that person again right now. That person we just connected recently, and she's saying that the after she feels more legally comfortable to share more, she will give more details and specifics. That will probably more than likely be the second season. um I'll definitely be able to go more into things, and hopefully there will be some type of like culmination, like this stuff will finally come to an end. That's the goal. I mean, that would be really, really wonderful. But ironically, right when things had gotten too quiet, it was almost too good to be true. It seemed like the shit really hit the fan. Like right after I think Thanksgiving, right before the Christmas holiday, it was right around Thanksgiving. I had wanted to try to download some antivirus software. And long story short, um Sorry if you can hear a siren in the background. Jeez, it's loud. Anyway, it was not legitimate. And I'm just going to put this out there. Kaspersky, allegedly, I don't even remember how to spell it. I don't know if they're a German company, Swedish, whatever. But Kaspersky, Kaspersky, SKY. I highly recommend you not go with them. Reason being, I don't know how they got on the Google app, but anyway, I went to try to use that type of antivirus. Downloaded it, got an email confirming, trial offer, 7 days, you're not satisfied, get your money back, cancel service, yada, yada, yada. And I usually like doing stuff like that over the phone, speaking to a live person, especially everything I've gone through, the suspicions that I have about certain things, and involving cybersecurity. But I wanted to just hurry up and get it out of the way, even though it was before business hours. I'm like, you know what? I'll just follow up calling them later, to confirm. So I just made the purchase online through the Google App Store. Get an email saying, hey, thank you so much for signing up for your trial. Your email has been verified, blah, blah, blah. So then, a couple hours later, I call just to confirm that I've installed everything correctly and just, make sure things are on the up and up. And like I mentioned, I'm old school. I prefer speaking to a live human being on the phone, not an automated teller. Live human being versus just doing something online, I want to make sure all my I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So I speak with this person and I say, yeah, how do I know, it's doing what it's supposed to do? Like, usually like you got to click a button to do a scan, or if you want a VPN or whatever, And he was like, okay, we have no record of you, ma'am. And I'm like, excuse me, what? I said, I got an email earlier this morning confirming, verifying my email address, thanking me for going with the trial. And he said, okay, ma'am, can you tell me like what the return email address on that was? So I read it back to him. And he's like, yeah, ma'am, that email is not affiliated with our company. And I'm like, great. Like the nerve of some people. Like if someone's trying to buy antivirus software, first of all, they're probably not having a good day. Okay, they're probably dealing with cybersecurity issues. And for people to just prey upon people already, like kicking somebody when they're down, like despicable. So he was like, you can go on ahead and you can purchase that with me right now, though, ma'am. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me pump the brakes. Let me just take a pause, hold off on doing any more purchases until I know for sure I even want to go with these people or whatever. I'm like, okay, dude, I'll call you back in a little bit after I, do a little bit of research. Called my bank because for whatever reason, I saw that there was a purchase for this, even though the email said it was just going to be like a hold, until I decided, within 7 days to go with it and I'll charge me whatever a month. So I got suspicious about that. So then I call my bank to say, hey, do you see this purchase on my account? It shouldn't be there because they said they weren't going to charge me anything until 7 days. And he's like, okay, ma'am, let me look this up here. I'm like, okay, yeah. He said, okay, so it's what now? It's antivirus something, or is it Google, or what? I was like, yeah, it's this Kaspersky antivirus, and I made the purchase through the Google Play Store app. That's what it should say. So he goes and he looks on the front end. It looks like Google Play Store purchaser app or whatever. But on his end, somehow on the back end, he can tell. He goes, ma'am, I'm sorry, but their purchaser ID or whatever, a bank teller or a banker or whatever can see, a merchant ID, I think is the actual term. It says they're not affiliated with Google. And I'm just like, great. Just my day keeps getting better. And he was like, I just advise you, better safe than sorry right now, before, even if you're not completely sure it was fraudulent, just to cancel that debit card and get a new debit card. because if there's any kind of like compromise going on, those people had access to my bank account and everything. So I do that, and then he advised me to get antivirus with my phone company. And a lot of phone companies provide antivirus, just a few additional extra dollars a month in addition to your phone bill. So that's what I wound up doing. In the meantime, I signed up for the VPN services that my sister's company provides. And I can give a little bit more additional information about that later. They also offer antivirus, but I decided just to stay with McAfee that comes with T-Mobile just because I got very familiar with how to navigate it and everything. Very, very just pleased with the service and the communication. Still getting all kinds of emails saying, your McAfee is about to expire and this and that. Like if I had $1 for every one of those, that thankfully most of them go to my junk folder, I would be rich. So fast forward to me speaking to my private investigator. He was like, that was a good call. I also advise you to do a factory reset on your phone. I was like, okay, what's that? He was like, basically, you're wiping your phone slate clean. It's a clean slate. It goes back to the factory settings of the day you first bought it or when it first left the factory. So I'm like, okay. He's like, it's going to erase all your, photos, videos, any kind of documents, whatever. But any kind of malware, spyware, viruses or whatever will also be erased. So I did that. It took me forever to kind of like back up, the thousands of pictures and hundreds of videos or whatever. But I did it, backed it up to a little SD card and all that jazz. Literally did it little by little over the course of a week. And I did the factory reset. And knock on wood, I haven't had any issues involving cybersecurity that horribly that I know of. So that was kind of like the last straw for me. I spoke to another person who's dealing with some of the cybersecurity issues as well, who had left that community. And she was telling me about the software that hackers can use that can just spy on everything you're doing on your phone. And I could not sleep that night. I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. Thankfully, I have an Android, and this software that she sent me the website about cannot do anything with an Android remotely. That means someone would have to actually have your phone physically. So that's good, but it's still just really disturbing, to put it mildly. Like, these cyber criminals are getting more and more advanced. Like the fact that they can have an app on the Google App Store is just astonishing. And I like they're getting away with it. It's disgusting. Thankfully there are, resources you can go through and avenues you can report them, but they're still out there. They're ruthless. So you really, really gotta be on your game. You really, really do. I mean, the best approach is just being overly prepared. So I definitely wanted to go more into how you can protect yourself and learn more about cybersecurity. I had a friend from that community whose girlfriend was actually raised in a cult, and we were going to do an interview together, but things just got so busy, it kept getting pushed back. I wanted to do an episode about Rose McGowan, who also was raised in a legit cult, but I'm gonna push those back and save those things for the second season, which is probably more than likely I'm gonna kind of transition to having most of my episodes be on the podcast. Occasionally I might do a YouTube video, but they'll mostly go straight there. I will upload certain things to the community section, like resources and things, and I'll continue to post things like that. I'm hoping that in the future, these episodes won't be so much about like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm going through and this is what these people did and did. Because hopefully it'll finally stop. I did, though, in closing, go back and re-listen to each episode so far from this, podcast slash vlog. And it had been so long. And I'm just like thinking, like, I got even like more angry and more upset. just at how, again, the hypocrisy. And dealing with people like this, I will say the silver lining, it makes you appreciate genuine, sincere people and positive encounters, interactions, and positive communities, you know. Like I said, I love my favorite YouTuber, Lovely T 2002. Her Discord is amazing. Her online community is amazing. And ironically, I have met really good friends from that community. Friends who have also left actually before me. That's a different story for a different day. So everything does happen for a reason. Um, the situation I know has definitely made me stronger, but there are some people out there who are not, they're just not well-intentioned people. They don't have good intentions. And kind, generous, trusting people sometimes have to learn that the hard way, unfortunately. And I just was reminded, and I guess tried to kind of like bury and, moving forward and healing from all the stuff that went on, because a lot of wonderful things have happened, in my life since then too. But there's just still this kind of like, how do you say, just this, it's like I need closure, you know? And I hate the fact that people think that they can do this and get away with it for whatever the reason, if they're just narcissistic or they feel they have influence or money or whatever the reason that they think that it's okay for them to do stuff like this, even though they claim that they are victims of stuff like this themselves. It's a principle, you know? It's, to me, it's like a little microcosm of what's going on like a macro level, like the battle of good and evil. Like I can't just drop it and let it go. For one, because I'm sick of having to worry about my cybersecurity. Two, uh, sometimes people need to be taught a lesson, and sometimes they have to learn the hard way, and they really just messed with the wrong person. So again, working with the private investigator in my second season, I will definitely have more details about that. There's other things that they have done to other people. Again, some of those people will be more comfortable speaking on it after we have more solid, legit proof that it is these people. So we won't go too far into detail about that right now, but in the coming weeks and months, we will. Um, I may even share some of the things she shared with me, like pictures and screenshots of what happened. May share those, put them in my community section, we'll see. But there was somebody who was sent flowers from some kind of mystery sender, very, very vague card attached to them, and just no information about the person who sent them. And it's like, okay, if you're going to do tactics like this, then this really needs to be stopped. Like, this really needs to be nipped in the bud. It's really crazy. So a part of the investigation is finding out for certain who sent those flowers to her. Was it like a means to intimidate? I mean, is there a chance it could have just been a secret admirer? Sure. But the circumstances are very, very suspicious. So, yeah, it's like, on the one hand, at first she didn't want me to share the pictures of it, but on the other hand, people think they can get away with stuff by operating in secrecy. Some people, the only way to put an end to their deviant, despicable behavior is to expose them. And it's like, enough is enough. Like, there may be some people who are okay with being, victims of cyber crimes for whatever reason that is, being justified to them. But it just so happens that I am not. I'm not someone who's okay with that. And this kind of this vlog thing, kind of podcast is just kind of, I guess I would say, in a sense, it's kind of almost like an open letter to anybody else from that community who has dealt with any of this as well. Whether you think, oh my goodness, am I imagining this? Or wait, is this a red flag? Or no, it's just for anybody else from that community. In general, people who have been victims of cyber crimes, but more specifically, because it is kind of like a culture of like just really, there's a lot of gaslighting that goes on. We'll just put it that way. And no one deserves to be a victim of cyber crimes, especially not by people who feel that they are so entitled, so confident that they will just get away with what they're doing, or that no one will pursue them legally or have them investigated. For whatever reason, I don't know. It's not because they're mastermind criminals, because they may be, hackers and whatnot, but they're sloppy. You know, they didn't cover all their tracks, or else we would not know it's them. So once it's actually proven that it's them, may not be the actual community members themselves. What I've heard from people is that they usually have the moderators to kind of do the dirty work. I have a feeling that if anything ever happened to one of the moderators, they would not hesitate to throw them under the bus. I'm sure they have made it so that they feel they can't be implicated. And they may try to, plead like dumb, play dumb, plead, just plead ignorance. But again, a proper, thorough investigation is going to reveal everything. And one of my favorite phrases is, what's done in the dark will come to light. I'm happy to report, like I said, since that whole big blow up thing with the Kaspersky antivirus and all that jazz, I haven't had any more cybersecurity issues, so knock on wood. Like I said, there's good stuff to report. But yeah, that could have been a close call. If I hadn't caught that, like who knows what kind of charges could have started appearing on my account, or whatever. So in closing, again, just wanted to kind of give you guys a preview of what to look forward to in the second season of my podcast. Still going to be interviewing, the young lady who was raised in a cult, doing the review of Rose McGowan's book, Brave. And hopefully speaking less about cyber crimes that I'm having to deal with, and more so just kind of reflecting with other people who have dealt with it in that community, and how we dealt with it, and advice for other people currently going through this, either in that community or other online communities, or just in general at all. And, tips and tricks and pointers and all that good stuff on how to, bounce back and recover and heal, because you can do it. It may take a while, but you can do it. There are resources out there. It can be very daunting, very overwhelming. There's just so many avenues, you don't even know where to look and focus first, but there is assistance out there, you know, and that's the most important thing. So yeah, I said I was gonna try to keep this short and sweet. I think I kind of done it, kind of. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, just until next time, guys, take care. And yeah, talk to you later.